Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have a very frightening and ongoing story to discuss with you right now. Blake Moynes, hospitalized in Africa with bad infection, had to get surgery. We don't know too much, but his mom took to social media. We're going to share what she had to say. Of course, Blake has been in South Africa fighting against poachers and helping the conservation of wild rhinos. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content and Bachelor Rush Hour, the afternoon podcast. Hopefully we'll have some more updates by the time the podcast hits this afternoon. I'm going to share what Blake's mom said right here, but first I was sent this clip just from yesterday from her podcast Get Real with Mama Moynes, Emily Moynes, Blake's mom. And let me tell you something. Blake's mom is a badass, okay? She's the mom you wish you had. She's the mom you want to be. And but of course, terrifying to think your son is in another continent, possibly in a place that doesn't have the proper medical help that one might need. And I only say that because he's been off the grid, doesn't have cell phone reception, so updates are scarce. But let's hear what she had to say, and then I'm going to share her update she just released on Instagram.
For you Bachelor fans, he's in Africa. He's been in Africa for a while. He'll be in Africa until March, and I just did get a FaceTime from him. I haven't spoken to him in a long time. He's in the hospital.
This was
yesterday. Fine, and he will be fine. He's out there fighting poachers and trying to save the rhinos and the elephants of the world. But as a mom, and he's an adult, and as a mom, you still think of those adult children as children. I still think of him like he was when he was, 4, 5, 6 years old. Like it doesn't change. So the worry for me is immense.
Okay, so I'm back.
The only thing that keeps me sort of going and sane is the fact that I know that he is out there doing and living life. He is doing what he loves. That's the only thing that keeps me going because it's a constant worry. Cross my fingers. Hopefully he will come home safe and sound in March. But that brings me to something else that I posted on my Instagram. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, maybe give me a follow.
Okay, so that was her update yesterday, which I'm assuming was probably shot a few days earlier. And here's what she had to say just now on Instagram.
So I'm pulled over on the side of the road. I just got a call from Blake. I haven't heard from him very often. He's in Africa. He's been there for about a month. He doesn't have cell service, but he's down there fighting the poachers, saving the rhinos, saving the elephants, doing absolutely what he loves. He's so passionate about that sort of stuff. But 4 days ago, he called and said he had a really bad infection and that, he had been treated. Well, I just got a call today. Like, I'm starting to freak out. I'm really starting to freak out. He just got out of surgery and maybe, do you guys believe in the power of prayer? Because sure. I really could, doesn't matter how old your kids are, the worry never stops. I really could use some prayers for Blaker. I want him to come home. Fuck Blake, just come home. I know you love what you're doing, but you're freaking me out. I'm ready to get on the next freaking flight out to Africa. Let's say a prayer for Blake, please.
All right, so say a prayer for Blake if you could be so generous. Of course, the power of positivity, healing vibrations, and love collectively, in situations like this can push the needle. And Blake, yeah. So, I was just looking at health risks of travelers in South Africa. And of course, it could be anything, but infection where needing surgery, the adventure traveler is at a greater risk as parts of the country are endemic for malaria, schistosomiasis, probably butchered that, rabies, food and waterborne diseases, STDs, and arbovirus infections, accidental death. So very dangerous stuff going on. Of course, fighting the poachers, African rhinos poached in 2006 to 2021, had its height in 2014, but still about 500 a year, it says here. 9,000 African rhinos have been lost to poaching in the last decade. Of course, they're, different black markets for the tusks and things like that. Just dangerous stuff because these poachers are armed and so are the people fighting them. And what exactly Blake is doing with building awareness, it's kind of hard to sort of recognize the immediate effect because it's all about bringing awareness to a lot of issues we might not see in Western countries, as far as poaching and what happens with, trying to bring communities of rhinoceros. I mean, it's hard to even discuss. It's so foreign to us over here, but trying to bring them from the brink of extinction, all because of greed, overseas black market dealing when it comes to selling this stuff out there. Just wild stuff. So, conservationists taking aim at poachers. Newly created commission will gather evidence to help dismantle wildlife crimes, and it seems like that's what Blake's got himself involved with right now. But yeah, I mean, he grew up in Canada. His body does not recognize probably a lot of the different things that can cause harm. I know when you do travel to different regions in Africa, there are different shots and various boosters that you get to help prevent this, but pretty scary stuff here. Here's a video from him, I believe, last summer. One of the most important days of the year is today, World Ranger Day, and he talks about when he had the privilege of going to the Big Life Foundation. Beautiful drone shot over there. In our battle to protect wildlife, Amboseli's wildlife. So he's got a ton of different content. Shows some elephants here. Beautiful shot. He's got a ton of different pieces of footage on his Instagram kind of showing what he's up to. From the conservation of wolves and bears and other forms of wildlife. This is kind of part of his passion. And then here's one of his vlogs. All these vlogs are available on his Instagram. So there he is doing his thing. I mean, yeah, look, if you're like, I don't know, out in the wilderness, hours from hospitals, you might think, I have some sort of issue, no big deal. But, everything when you're not close to a hospital can be life-threatening.
Morning to beat the sun, try to track some rhino, and at the same time, check on some camera traps.
So there he is. This is, again, last year, looking at camera traps and tracking.
This zebra carcass here was killed by lions.
So it's fascinating work that he's doing. It's obviously very different from a lot of what we see out there with normal mainstream Bachelor alumni, as far as selling your skinny tea or promoting this or that. I mean, it's I can't think of any other alumni that have really dedicated themselves to conservation work. And with that will come criticisms from people saying, what are there's this savior, and again, I don't fall into this belief, but there's this idea that, there's a savior complex with people in Western worlds to help others. But yeah, I mean, these are, when it comes to helping communities that have been ravaged by capitalism, in part being stripped, like this bizarre belief that rhino tusks and other animal, elephant tusks is it rhino tusk or rhino horns? Excuse me. Did I say tusk earlier? Rhino horns. There's this belief you grind them down into powder for boner pills. I mean, it's crazy what exists out there. And it's like, you only get one shot at this planet Earth. And it's not too often that you see the common cause be something like what Blake's doing, which is to help out, versus so many Bachelor alumni taking money from companies, fast fashion companies that are essentially slave labor. They make clothes with 10-year-olds working these crazy factories in Bangladesh. They violate so many different international laws for a very basic, slave labor laws. And we know firsthand that we have people in the Bachelor community that have taken large payments to do that. So when I see alumni that are putting their cause, and wearing their heart on their sleeve, it's a real devastating thing to see that Blake, is sick and in the hospital. So we'll have to find out more information. And as that comes along, we'll report it here. Let's just do a quick refresh from our good friend Emily and see if there's anything posted. It doesn't look like we have any new information, but everyone out there, if you could just say a thoughtful prayer and let's wish Blake well and that he can return in one piece. And, hopefully this is just a speed bump on his path. All right, folks, we'll be back with more content right after this, live streaming before tonight and after tonight's episode, 7 p.m. East Coast, 10 p.m. East Coast. I'll be right here. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to get access to our live streams. And also I'll be live right after this on Patreon at patreon.com/Dave Neal. See you in a bit.